The DJI Mavic Mini has now been out for over a year, so let's find out if it's worth it, or whether or not you should get the new Mavic Mini, the one that came out a few weeks ago. Hi friends, it's James and welcome back to my channel. So the Mavic Mini has now been out for over a year, but the question still stands, is it still worth it today? However, the thing that makes this question more interesting is that a couple of weeks ago, DJI released their second version of the Mavic Mini, the Mavic Mini 2. So should you get the new Mavic Mini 2, or should you get the old Mavic Mini but at a much cheaper price? Well then, let's find out. I'm going to leave a list of timestamps just here where you can jump to certain sections of the video that interest you the most, or you can watch the whole thing, either's fine with me. So the size of the Mavic Mini, well, I'm going to have to give it to DJI. It's utterly impressive about how small it gets and how it can literally fit into everything. As in, it's even possible to fit it into certain trouser pockets. Unfortunately, all of my trousers have small pockets, so I've never been able to do that. But certain trousers do. I mean, that's an interesting piece of information anyway. But anyway, yeah, the overall point of this is that the DJI, the Mavic Mini, the old one, the one that was brought out a year ago, is utterly compact. As in, it packs so many features into such a small chassis. And as well as that, it can literally just fit into anything, any space. I mean, it's incredible. However, the new Mavic Mini 2, the one that came out a couple of weeks ago, has a slightly different chassis. It's actually smaller than the Mavic Mini when folded up. And I'm sure you're wondering, how much is it compact by? Well, it's only by 2mm, and let's be realistic here. Those 2mm are not going to matter at all. So overall, they're the same size. Those 2mm will literally make no difference at all. But it is quite cool how DJI have managed to shrink the size down a bit. So the camera, arguably the most important feature of this drone. Of any drone for that matter. So how good is the quality of the Mavic Mini? Well then, it records at 2.7K at 30 frames per second. And I'll have to admit, it does look pretty good. However, it's not that good at doing nighttime flights, which is fair enough. The footage just comes out really grainy and it's basically unusable in any film. So if you're planning on flying drones at night time, then the Mavic Mini is definitely not what you're going to be looking for in terms of that. However, if you're mainly out and about in the day, then it's going to be amazing. I personally think the 2.7K is perfect because most monitors these days are 1080p. I mean, some will have 4K, and the phones as well, 1080p, some will have 4K. But the 2.7K just does look good, especially on a mobile device. But what does the Mavic Mini 2 offer? Well then, it records at 4K at 30 frames per second, which I have to admit is better, especially for these days, as most devices now can record in 4K. But as I said previously, not all devices that you view the footage on is 4K, as all the devices I have in my house are 1080p, except my phone. But anyway, still, the old Mavic Mini, the one that records at 2.7K, that still looks really good on a 4K device. But yeah, so back to the Mavic Mini 2. So, as well as this, the photos, it can take raw photos, which the older generation Mavic Mini doesn't. And that is something I really don't like about the older version. I much prefer to be able to take photos in RAW. But oh well, I guess. But a cool feature that the latest Mavic Mini has is that it has 4x zoom, which the older version doesn't, which is a nice little touch. But just to prove to you that the older version camera is still good, here's some footage I've taken. quick shot mode. So this might be something you're interested in, something that you look for in a drone, or it may be something that you've just never used. Personally, I don't really use them. I prefer to do all the flying myself, as I find it more fun then. But if you do, I'll quickly go over what the Mavic Mini 2 offers and what the Mavic Mini offers. So I'll go over those two versions. So the older version of Mavic Mini offers the basic ones: the drone, the helix, the circle, and the rocket. I mean, these moves are actually pretty cool. I have tried them out a couple of times, and yeah, they do give a really nice effect. But the Mavic Mini 2 does have some more quick shot modes available. It now has a boomerang mode, and as well as that, it can now do cool panoramas and hyperlapses. Flight time, the thing that's probably one of the most important features on a drone, because you want to be able to get maximum flight time possible on one battery. Well then, in the ideal weather conditions, the DJI Mavic Mini has about 31 minutes of flight time. However, realistically, you're not going to have perfect weather conditions. No wind, no temperature change, nothing like that. No humidity, no turbulence in the air, nothing. That's not going to really happen. So you'll most likely, you'll average, from what in my experience, about 25 to 26 minutes of flight time. And the Mavic Mini 2, the latest one, that offers, in ideal conditions, 32 minutes. So only an extra 1 minute. And then if you take that down to my experience of what I get with my Mavic Mini, then you'd probably get about 28 minutes with the latest version. So not really something you'd want to upgrade over. But if you get the Fly More combo kit, which comes with both the old and the new version of the Mini, you get 3 batteries with it, which honestly, that's amazing, because that triples your flight time, because you can literally just change the batteries out. So connectivity. On the older version of the Mavic Mini, the controller connects to the drone via Wi-Fi. I know what you're thinking. Wi-Fi, why would they do that? And to be fair, I agree totally with you. As in, you only get 4 kilometers of range with it, which, yeah, it's okay. I mean, where I come from, the drone rules require you to have it always in line of sight. So to be fair, I never ever fly a long distance away, so because it's always within my line of sight. Which, so to be fair, you wouldn't actually need that max distance of 4 kilometers. However, but anyway, let's say you do, then Mavic Mini 2 doesn't use Wi-Fi, it uses radio waves, and that can go up to 10 kilometers, which is a massive boost. It's over double the range that the normal Mini can do. The older version of the Mini can do. So yes, that's potentially something you might want to look into, especially if you're doing longer range flights, as this might be a very important feature to you. Price, another important thing you should look into when getting a drone. So, what did I pay for when I bought my Mavic Mini? Well, I bought the Mavic Mini with the Fly More combo kit, and in total I paid £419. And I personally believe that was a very good deal. However, at the moment, the DJI Mavic Mini 2, the base model, the one that doesn't come with the Fly More combo kit, is $419. And to get the Fly More combo kit with the Mini 2, you have to pay $540. And I'm going to be honest here. If you're paying $540, I'd recommend you just save up a bit more and get the Mavic Air, as in it has way more features than the Mini 2. But that's more of a personal opinion. But let's say you didn't want to spend that much. Well, I've had a look on eBay, and I found that you can get the older version of the Mavic, the original one, for prices around $150, $120. And honestly, I think that that's an amazing deal, because the Mini compared to the Mini 2, yes, there are some differences, like how it records 4K, longer distance, very, very slightly extra flight time. But I honestly think the original Mini is still just as good. So weight. Weight is something that's very important in the drone world. So in most places, if a drone weighs more than 250 grams, you have to register it with that country's airspace register, basically. But if a drone is below the weight of 250, you don't have to. And that's why it is so popular among this Mavic Mini and the Mavic Mini 2, because both of these drones are below 250 grams. However, where I come from in the UK, those laws have changed. It doesn't matter the weight of the drone. If it has a camera on it, then you still have to register it. So if you're based in the UK and you're thinking of getting a drone, but you don't want to register with it, and you are thinking of getting the Mavic Mini and the Mavic Mini 2, keep this in mind because you will have to register it. So maybe potentially you go for the Mavic Air because you still have to register that anyway. But yeah, that's a quick point I thought I should mention. So, is the Mavic Mini worth it? Or should you get the newer version, the Mavic Mini 2? Well, I'm going to be honest, this is my personal opinion. I think you either go for a Mavic Mini as the original one and get it second hand for around like 120, around that sort of price. Or, if you want to get a better drone, I wouldn't recommend getting the Mavic Mini 2. I'd recommend just going, saving a bit more and going for the Mavic Air, because you'll get a lot more for your money when you do that. But yeah, I'd love to know what you think. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Let me know in the comments. But that brings us anyway to the end of this video. If you've enjoyed it, please do consider subscribing. And as well as that, please do smash the like button. But anyway, I'll catch you guys in the next video. See ya!